Hello, my beautiful friends. I'm back to my crappy lighting. Here we are. It's been a busy week. The bubble has come through. You're like, what's the bubble? Well, actually, technically, the dirty bubble was just through. I live on the Appalachian Trail in northeastern Pennsylvania, and I moved here in 2019 so that I could live on the trail and provide trail magic to long distance hikers because I am also a long distance hiker. And I was thinking it would be fun to do a video about what I've learned as a long distance hiker. I have been hiking the Appalachian Trail since 1997, so technically I am a member of the class of 1997, even though I was a lasher as a young person, which is a long Appalachian section hiker. The A actually stands for something else, long A section hiker. And some of us are a little bit sassier, called ourselves slashers, so that stood for sexy or sassy long section hiker. And so I've been hiking since 97. I have never thru hiked and I have no intention to thru hike. I like to do big sections, but I also like to choose the weather. So when I lived in New Jersey, which is where I lived previous to here, I would have to drive to the trail like an hour and a half because I was on the other side of the state. And when we moved to Pennsylvania, I said, I want to live in a trail town. So we looked at the three trail towns near where I work, and we picked this one. I let hikers stay in my yard. They don't have to pay. It's free. And they can do their laundry, and they can shower, and they can tent camp in the yard, and then they can go into town, which is literally right behind my house, and get food and resupply and do things like that. So I'm very in love with the culture of the Appalachian Trail, and if you are a long distance hiker, the AT has a very strong community, and I've been doing this now since 2019, which is when we moved here, but I've learned a lot as both a hiker and as a trail angel, and I thought it would be great to talk about how that kind of ties into my spirituality and the things that I do. People think I'm crazy for letting strangers stay in my yard, but Pennsylvania is the spiritual halfway point is Harpers Ferry, West Virginia, but the actual halfway point of the Appalachian Trail is in Pennsylvania, near Pine Grove Furnace, and it changes, like the actual mile changes every year because of reroutes and things like that, but it's near Pine Grove Furnace, and that's the halfway point, and I live after that. So if you're coming northbound, or what we say Nobo, I'm after that in the worst of the Pennsylvania rocks, and then if you're southbound, I'm right before you would get to the halfway mark. So that's kind of geographically where we live. The part of trail, and I'm going to link a great video if you want to see sort of the terrain of where I live and the section that I take care of for the Appalachian Trail Conservancy. I'll link a great video below. One of the hikers that stayed with us, he does a great job, and it's really one of the best videos of the terrain around here. So that's a cool video, and you should watch it, and you should follow his hike because he posts every day, and it's in his videos are interesting. The first thing that I learned as a hiker, and this is when I started hiking with the Girl Scouts. I worked at a sleepaway Girl Scout camp near Pine Grove, and what I learned is take what you need, don't take what you don't need. You don't want to carry all that weight around. And I've talked about this on the channel before, but your physical backpack and your spiritual backpack, right? Like, those are two things. And in your physical backpack, I'm not ultra light, but I am light. I have a light backpack. But that comes after years and years of backpacking. And really, you don't need as much as you think you do. You when you first think you're going to go backpacking, you get all the gear, and like REI, like they are, their job is to sell you crap that you don't need, right? You don't need biodegradable toilet paper. It is already biodegradable. And we call it shit tickets. That's what it's called on the trail. So there's a whole vernacular that goes with the AT. But I think about that spiritually, right? Like, don't carry with you all of those things that you just don't need to carry. Disappointments or, anger toward people. Like, don't put that in your backpack. Don't carry that around with you. So pack light, take what you need, have what you need with you, and if you need to carry some tough stuff with you just because you can't let it go, that's fine. But recognize that you are, I do shakedown hikes with the new hikers in my hiking group that I lead, and we do these shakedown hikes, and I'll be like, you do not need a cot. that's gonna weigh a ton, and you're not gonna want to carry that up a mountain, right? So you're gonna sleep on a sleeping mat pad like the rest of us, right? So, like think about the things that you need and be purposeful in what you put in your pack, both spiritual and physical. So that's the first thing I learned. The second is wear good shoes, right? Your feet do all the work on the AT. Like they do all of the work. And so spiritually, like have really good grounding, have really good shoes on, or be barefoot and connect with earth, right? Do a foot connection with the earth but really support yourself. Like make sure that you have the right the right foundation and the right footwear to get through and navigate your life, like your spirituality or work or school or home life, whatever. Like have a good solid foundation. Always, so that's two. And number three is, always purify your water, right? Like you never, like you think, oh, I'm just going to drink out of the stream. Don't do that. You need to filter your water, because you can get all kinds of things like Giardia and all kinds of grossness, which comes out all the ends. So you don't want that, right? But that's true in our lives too. Like, what you put into you is going to cause something. So, eat and drink the things that you enjoy, but, just be careful of what you're putting in your body, because you need it to get through the trail. And in our part of the trail, water is very scarce. So you need to camel up before you go out, and then you need to stop at every water source and get water, and then you need to filter that water to make sure it's safe. And the same is true in life, right? There are going to be droughts in your life. Make sure that you're prepared. Make sure you camel up before them, and make sure that you stop at every water source, spiritual water source you can, whatever your tradition. Seems like ridiculous to be the fourth thing, but know where you're going, right? So it's easy on the AT because you're either going to Katahdin or you're going to Springer, and then or you're doing a little section and you're going one of those two ways, right? And there's little white blazes that kind of show you the path the whole way, but people do get lost on the trail a lot. And part of it is because there are blue blazes, and those are like, features. Like there's one near here that's a blue blaze to a beaver dam, which is so fun and so fun and gross all at the same time. Kind of a little dry at the moment, but like these blue blazes are like chances to see vistas and chances to do cool things like walk through over a beaver dam, right? So there are little adventures in life, and like it's awesome. Choose the vistas that you want to do, but always get back on the main trail so that you get to your destination. Know where you're headed, and that's true in life as well. Like just know where you're going. And don't stay on a blue blaze forever. Like come back to the main trail. If your blue blaze becomes a main trail, just recognize that, call that out. And then sometimes blue blazes, like especially when it's like a vista, you'll go up this vista and it's like this hard climb, and you get all the way up there, and then the visibility is zero because of cloud cover. And you're thinking, why did I do all that work? The journey is just as important as whatever you're going towards, right? What you do, and the fun you have, and the challenge that you give yourself, right? Like the journey is just as important as the terminus. So enjoy the journey. And that's true spiritually as well and in life. Know yourself and make friends, and make connections with other humans. So, hiking, I hike alone when I'm going on my own, but I run a hiking group, so I'm often with a lot of people, and then the hikers that stay in the yard, especially right now, we have the bubble, the dirty bubble, the dirtier bubble, and the dirtiest bubble. There are a lot of people, and they're great, and they become like family. In 2020, because we're not an official hostel, we don't charge, we were able to host people when everything else was shut down. So one of the hikers came back, and Buckler, who's just a great guy, and I feel very connected to that class of 2020, because they, some of our international hikers, they had to like hike past their visa extensions, or visa deadlines because of COVID, and it was just a whole thing. The whole year was a whole thing. I was fortunate to get my tag, because I had gone to the kickoff and got my tag then, and then the world shut down 2 days later, so I was one of the only people to get a tag that year. Right? So you make lifetime friends and family. And serving on the board of the Appalachian Long Distance Hiker Association, and volunteering with the Appalachian Mountain Club and the Appalachian Trail Conservancy on Audubon, and all the different agents at the groups that I volunteer with, like, you make so many great friends and connections and stuff, and it's just wonderful. But I hike alone, right? I hike alone because I do like to be on the trail alone. I don't like to wait for people, and I don't like people to have to wait for me, and I like to stop, drop, and write a lot. So I kind of do my own thing, and then I set rendezvous points. So, like, know who you are, know what you need to get out of your journey, and know what boundaries you want to set, and that really, really does help. So, and it makes the experience enjoyable for everybody. Let's see, what are some other things? That was five. You don't have to do it. Like, we have an expression on the trail, hike your own hike. So that would be number six. Like, hike your own hike. Like, do it your way, which kind of goes with the last one. But, I don't eat honey buns. I don't actually eat a whole lot of bread. So I don't eat a lot of the foods that the other people on trail eat, like honey buns and tortillas and stuff like that. Like, I kind of have my thing. Like, I fill my hip pockets with M&Ms, peanut M&Ms, or turkey bites. And I like pepperoni, and I do all of my cooking in my jet boil. And then Ziploc bags. I make a pad thai, a trail pad thai, and stuff like that. So, like, do it your way. You don't have to do it. Tramily, which is a trail family. Right now, the Bubble is a huge trail family. They hike as a group, and one of the things I've observed over the years is that there's always, like, a guy in the group or a girl in the group or person. I don't want to be restrictive, but there's always a person in the group who, like, like, they want to go faster or they want to go slower, but they feel like they have to do whatever the group is doing because that's their tramily, and they don't want to get separated. I have tramlines, like spiritual tramlines, but that's why I hike alone, because I want to do it my own way. I want to see them in camp, and I want to hear their stories, and I love listening to their, the different tales and the things that happen, and it's awesome. But I want to hike alone because I want to do it my own way. I want to hike my own hike. Um, Trail justice is a real thing. That would be seven. So it's a long trail. It's over 2,000 miles, 2,200 miles. And, but all of us who, like, are trail angels know each other on the trail, and we pass information up and down. Right now we're passing the information up north. When the southbenders come through, that gets passed down to the south. And when somebody acts like an ass in a town, we all know about it. And depending on what level of ass you've been acting like, will determine whether a town will open up to you. Because I'm not an official hostel, I can just be closed if people are ridiculous and have done ridiculous things in other towns. Like, I will warn all of our hostel and we have a nudist resort here that the hikers like to go to, and our Airbnbs, and I'll tell them the information I have, and I always make sure that I substantiate the rumor, and pretty much, like, if they've been arrested for assault or something, that's something that I will pass through to our local people. Some of the trail angels can be a little fussier than I am, but, to me, it's like, if you've been arrested for bad behavior, then you're not staying in my town. Um, you know, in the Celtic world, hospitality is really, in this Scottish tradition, hospitality is one of the best things that you can offer to others. So being hospitable and offering hospitality. So I try to make everybody feel like family when they come to my house. And I don't take them if I can't do that. So, like, I teach tonight. I taught a class tonight, and I have to be at work early in the morning. So I didn't take any hikers tonight, because it would be overwhelming for me to have 16 people in my tiny little yard, and then try to be hospitable. So I don't stress out about it. So, like, know what your limits are, right? For whatever, like, in your spiritual practice, if you're in a group or a coven or something, church or whatever, know what your limits are and know how much you can give. And it's okay to say no. It's okay to say, like, I can give this much, but I can't give this day or whatever. Like, you can still be loving and kind, and still have boundaries and guardrails for yourself. So that's number 8. Number 9 is sometimes there are rocks, and sometimes it rains. And sometimes you gotta hike up a steep hill with rocks in the rain. And then sometimes you go down, and sometimes you fall on your butt, and sometimes your pole gets stuck. A lot of times my shoe gets stuck in stuff. It's roots. My trail runner gets stuck in stuff. Stuff happens, but the overall experience is amazing. So it's like you know that you're going to fall on your butt. You know that you're going to slip. You know you're going to get stung by a bee. Like you know that you're going to come like almost step on a snake. Like you know these things, right? You know that life is full of challenges. And so don't get derailed by them. Like don't let that ruin your experience and your journey. Like just accept it as part of the journey and see what you can learn from it and then move on. That's number 9. And then number 10 is like take care of yourself when the journey is over. Unfortunately, every year we see hikers who can't adjust back to regular life off trail because the trail life is such a different lifestyle than than regular life, and they have a hard time transitioning back. And unfortunately, they take their own lives because they can't make that adjustment. The trail teaches you to be very independent. It teaches you to live with less. It really pulls you out of the nonsense of everyday life, right? I think the biggest thing I've learned over the years is that most things aren't a big deal. They feel like a big deal, but most things aren't. Um, you know, most things aren't a big deal. And so, world peace, that's a problem. Starving children, that's a problem. But, a lot of things aren't. And so, the things get really put in perspective. But one of the challenges when you get off the trail is that's not how the world works. The world makes big deals about things, and then you can get caught up in that, and then your energy is unbalanced. So journaling, meditating, praying, whatever it is your tradition does, like it's really important to have that ready. Well, doing it on the trail, but also ready and available to you when you get off the trail, so that you can kind of go back and assimilate back into everyday life. So I've learned a lot being a long distance hiker. I've learned a lot being a trail angel. We just had this big group here, and they were just delightful. And they make me miss the trail. Really, they do, because one of the things that you learn when you're on the trail, when you get off, is that you tell stories to people that haven't hiked, and they don't get it. They will smile and they'll nod and be like, oh, that's so interesting. Oh, that's so funny. But they don't really get it. And whenever I'm with hikers, it's like they're telling the stories of different places, like the Priest that they've been, and, like the Triple Crown, and trail days, and the things that you do as a hiker. And it all floods back to you, all of the great stories. And you know what? You don't remember the horrible things, unless somebody was a real jerk, then you remember them. But, you don't remember, like, the time when you slipped and, fell on your butt, unless it was funny. You don't remember the bad stuff. You just remember the whole of it, which was really, really good. And so in the journey of our lives, in our spiritual practice, in our workplace, in our schools, and in our home life, go for the journey, and recognize there are going to be bumps and bruises, and but really focus on the terminus, focus on the end goal, that positive and energetic end goal. So I am wishing you all the very best in light and love. Be well, take care, trail on, hikers hike.